So today we are going to talk about the superimposed lines exercise. The exercise is pretty straightforward, but there are a few pitfalls at least that people tend to fall into, and so I will try and help you avoid them here. The exercise starts off with drawing a guideline with a straight edge, and then quite simply you want to then, hold on, let's see if I can rotate this. Oops. This is going to be a little bit tricky. Let's see. I'm going to draw this at an angle because I'm drawing on a Cintiq. That's way too thick. And I cannot rotate my canvas without throwing this video out of sync. So the idea is that you draw this line, and you've drawn it with a ruler or a straight edge or whatever, and now you want to kind of follow up and draw on top of it, superimpose a line on top. And then you do it again. You do it 8 times. I've lost count. I haven't done it 8 times, but that's the idea. Now, there's a few major pitfalls that people tend to fall into. First of all, you'll notice here that I've got all my lines together. It's because each time I'm taking the time to line my pen up at the correct starting point. And then over here, you've got a bunch of fraying. This is technically correct. This is how I want you to approach this exercise. Obviously, the goal is to end up with a bunch of super straight lines that just kind of get a little bit thicker because you're doing it perfectly, but we are only human. We are just starting out. That is not how it's going to end up for us. But the problem is that when people get a little bit too caught up in keeping their line perfectly matched, what they end up doing is they draw slowly. And now you can see that there's a lot less deviation. Like, I mean, here they're ridiculously separate, while as here it's pretty much bang on. But the problem is that you end up with a line that wobbles. It goes up, goes down, goes up again, and so on. This is not a useful line. If we are too preoccupied with the accuracy of our marks, we are going to end up drawing very slowly and allowing our brains to course correct as we go. The reason that that's a problem is that a wobbly line does not maintain the kind of solidity that we're looking for. If you watched my intro video to Drawabox, you saw me talk about using the pivot of your arm, the different pivots of your arm, and why drawing with your wrist will result in more wobbling and why that's bad. Same thing applies here. And remember, this exercise should absolutely be drawn from your shoulder. So now, obviously, it's completely normal to think that accuracy is your main priority, but it's surprisingly not. Instead, you want to focus on maintaining consistent flow. As soon as you start drawing, you're going to end up finding some trajectory. And you want to draw with a continuous, persistent, and confident pace that results in you maintaining that trajectory as best as you can. This will obviously throw off your accuracy somewhat, but your accuracy is something that will get better with practice, whereas flow is really a matter of how you approach your technique. Here, you can practice all you want, and you will probably get a little bit better at keeping things smooth, but it's not going to be as effective and as efficient as first prioritizing flow and then accuracy. That said, when you draw your line confidently, I use that word confidently. I don't say draw quickly, because while at the beginning they do mean the same thing, there is a certain kind of nuance to the term. If you're just drawing quickly, then you are not, it's not going to change over time. Quickly is quickly regardless. But if you're focusing on drawing confidently, that means trusting in your muscle memory, trusting in what your arm knows how to do versus what your brain is constantly trying to micromanage. Instead of focusing on drawing quickly, if you focus on drawing confidently, that rate, that speed is actually going to gradually decrease as you practice more and more. You'll find that over time, you won't have to draw as fast to keep your brain quiet as you draw. You will be able to gradually find slower paces that allow you to actually increase your general control without getting your brain so heavily involved. And that is also part of what helps you improve as you practice. It's a matter of improving muscle memory so that no matter how quickly you draw, you'll get better and better and better, but also decreasing the kind of threshold at which your brain can say, okay, I'm going to take control. And I've got a comic about this topic that is actually kind of pertinent. The first, I don't know if you guys have seen them, but at this URL, you'll find the comics that I've drawn. There's only like 4 right now, and there may be more in the future, but they focus on conveying important concepts. And the very first one, because it's so important, was on this topic about avoiding the problem of stiffening up with your lines, focusing too much on accuracy. And let's see if I can bring the comic up. Yeah, drawing lines that aren't shitty, because I am a charmer with my language. And yeah, so you guys can go and read that if you want. Kind of goes over the same idea that I just mentioned here, but with more vomiting pens. So yeah, the other thing that I wanted to mention was that all my points are together here because I'm taking the time to actually line my pen up correctly. I have seen a lot of people try and draw their superimposed lines with a little bit of wildness, which is not a great idea. So they have that confidence in spades. They're just drawing, okay, let's do this and this and this and this and hope for the best. That ain't right. Because you want to take the time beforehand. You want to get in the habit of planning things out. If you start off with conscious thought and forethought and planning, then you are at least going to put yourself in the best position to have good results. If you don't even bother with that, you're kind of just, it's pointless. You're not, if you nail it, it's really just luck. So always plan everything out, put your pen where it needs to be, where it starts out, and then draw confidently. What will help is the next exercise, the ghosting exercise, which I'll get into in the next video. We talk about more approaches on improving your planning beforehand, but the execution is still the same. It's still about drawing confidently, about trusting in your muscle memory. The second that your pen touches the page, any chance that you had at avoiding a certain mistake or whatever, and any mistake that might happen from here on in, you're basically locked in, it's written in stone. You gotta execute that line confidently and without hesitation, otherwise you're just gonna end up with a wobbly mess that ain't worth nothing. So that's the superimposed line exercise. It's a pretty simple one and it's great for warm-ups. It's also there in the homework for lesson 1. So I'll include a link to lesson 1 in the description in case you guys are not familiar with Drawabox or any of this stuff, and you guys can start reading there.